Lubee Bat Conservancy was founded on July 31st of 1989. So we just celebrated our 35th anniversary recently, and our mission is to save bats in their habitats through conservation, education, awareness, with a focus on children and community engagement. When Lubee was founded in 1989, there were a lot of different types of animals here. We had one of the world's largest private collection of marmosets and tamarins. But really, unfortunately, our founder died 2 years after our inception in 1991. So the question is, what do we really want to focus on? And we both decided to focus on bats. And that's where really Lubee came to be known as one of the world's premier bat conservation and zoological organizations.
It's an amazing facility, and that's really awesome to get to show people these amazing animals that most people have never seen. When they walk in, they don't realize how big these bats are. The first time I came here was in 2022 for Bat Fest. It was really cool. I had no idea that fruit bats existed. I didn't know anything about them. I was shocked by how big they are. People just sometimes have, from the media, some really negative connotations towards bats. And then they come in and they see their personalities and see how playful they are and see how they want their fruit and they want to hang out over there, and as long as you're not bugging them, they're not going to bug you.
We want people, whenever they come out to Lubee, to not only enjoy the bats, which we know they're going to have a blast whenever they're with them, but to really feel immersed in nature and wildlife whenever they come out here.
We do health checks every morning. That's one of the first things that we do when we get here, so that we can just make sure all the animals are healthy.
There you go.
So what we do is each keeper will take, we call them like runs. So each keeper will take a certain amount of pens, and we'll just take turns throughout the week checking and rotating all those pens so that everyone gets fresh eyes on all the bats every single morning. But what we do is we'll bring a stick with us, and basically we'll just go in the pens and go from bat to bat and open their wings and look at their face and their head and their toes and their thumbs, and just make sure that every single part of them is completely healthy. There's nothing wrong, no like scrapes or cuts or anything like that, just so we can make sure, you know, if there was something wrong, we could get it taken care of as soon as possible. And with those health checks, we also medicate, so we give out over 100 different medications a day. We give out, I think, about 100 right now, and they get different things like allergy medications, they get pain medications, anything based on what they need. It's really cool. They actually get like children's Zyrtec and children's Allegros and take the same things that we do.
Good boy. Yeah, he has those big wings. Oh goodness, guys, calm down.
Come here. Oh, don't fight them. Here.
Right now we have one bat, his name is Sunshine, that is trained to go on outreaches. which we do a lot of events at like breweries and schools and libraries and stuff like that, where we bring some of our animals. We bring Sunshine, who is a little golden-mantled flying fox, two of our native bats, our skinks, and our corn snake. We want more than just Sunshine being available because he is older. Doreen is a girl that we got from a different facility. She was hand-reared as a baby. I don't know her story of why that she was, but she is very, very friendly with humans, so we made a decision to have her be our new outreach animal. So right now I'm working on training her to get used to being handled.
Good.
For handling of our bats, we wear really big handling gloves, which can be very scary. They're bright and orange and big. And it can be like a nervous experience for them because a lot of times it goes along with medical procedures that we do because we don't handle our bats other than for medical reasons. So right now I'm working with her on getting her used to the gloves. So I'll reinforce her with juice and stuff like that to make it a more positive experience.
Sorry. Good job. Oh, good job. You did so good.
But the end goal is for her to come out and meet guests out in the public.
There you go. Good job.
So enrichment probably is my favorite part of the daily life here.
You really get to see their brains move. You get to see them kind of figuring out how to manipulate the things around them, which is something that they'd be doing in the wild that we are lucky enough to be able to give them here at Lubee. We give them enrichment every single day.
We have a whole calendar, and then every day what we'll do is we will have a different category of enrichment for the day. So we use the 5 categories, which are social, sensory, cognitive, physical, and food. And we use that calendar so that every single day they're getting something from a different category. But having things that are physical, like a bucket and chain, where they have to work for the food and work that up, keeping them physically and mentally active is something really important, having them here in a captive care setting. We want to make sure that they're staying mentally and physically stimulated, because they don't have to think about where their meal's coming from. They don't have to think about where they're going to hang or where they're going to live or who they're going to mate with. We make those decisions for them, but we want to make sure they're still both mentally and physically happy and healthy. So our bats here, they do something called spat. So basically, the way I explain it is pretty much any food that goes in their mouth comes back out. So when they eat a piece of cantaloupe, what they're doing is they're grinding up. They're getting some of like the actual whole fruit in, but they're getting a lot of the juice and nutrients out, and they're gonna grind up that core till all of that's gone, and then they're gonna spit it back out, which is why they're so important as a species to their environments, is because they're known to repopulate forests all on their own, because all they're doing is eating fruits and vegetables and spitting the seeds back out. Yeah, so you will always see them just spitting out random food, but that is why they're so important and so cool. It also makes it really fun to clean after them, because literally everything that goes in their mouth comes right back out.
No, not cantaloupe. Not good enough. Not good enough.
So we have 7 babies right now. So all of those babies were born here recently at Lubee, and they will go on to potentially become part of our breeding programs in the future. And they potentially some of them will be our outreach bats. We're interested in training some of them to be able to go on outreaches, to go to things like our libraries and our brewery partners.
Oh, the baby's off in the back.
A lot of the bats do have individual personalities. It's really cool to see those come through, that some start even as they're pups, that they'll be really playful and really interested in toys and humans, and they, even though they don't want to be like necessarily right up on top of us, they know we bring food. And then there's some that are really into training, and that we can bring our tours in, and they interact really well with the people, and are kebab feeding and taking those foods from people. Is really cool to have that like connection with the animals.
Every single bat has a completely different personality, all based on themselves. We have bats that are super shy and don't really want to interact with us, and we have bats like Grace, who's all over and wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah, Grace is definitely one of our biggest personalities. She was hand-raised partially, so her mom ended up rejecting her, so she was partially hand-reared by the keepers at the time. So she very much associates people with positive experiences, with bringing food. So anytime any human walks in or is nearby, we say that she's into people, but she's really just into the food that we bring. She is not necessarily really in it for us. She just knows that we bring her cantaloupe treats, and that's really what she wants us for.
And there's all different kinds of personalities. It's really fun getting to know all the different ones. Every single, not even just bats, every single animal has a personality, even our tortoises. Tortoises probably have the biggest personalities that are here.
It's been in our history. It hasn't just been bats. And currently right now, we have over 200 bats from 9 different species. We have Florida native bats to the world's largest bat, the Malayan flying fox. Our biggest bat, Calvin, has a wingspan of about 5.5 feet. But we also have tortoises here, African Sparthide tortoise. We have a couple of Solomon Island skinks. It's a kind of a link to our Solomon Islands conservation programs. We also have a corn snake that was injured and needed a home, so we decided to be able to bring him in here. And what's nice is the bats are always going to be the main draw, but we want people to see some other wildlife, that's out there, other species. And we get a lot of children in here and a lot of private tours, and they get to interact not only with our bats, but with the tortoises and the skinks that we have here as well.
A lot of the people that come out here don't really know anything about bats, so the fact that they can come out here and be like up front and up close with bats and be able to like learn about them and kind of know things that they didn't know, and like, why are they awake right now? Because they're usually nocturnal, right? And I'm like, there's actually 1,400 different species of bats, or over that.
I get a lot of questions like, oh, so like, how are they moving around if they're blind? Which no bats are blind, actually. A lot of the questions are misconceptions like that.
People always think bats are really dirty. They have a lot of diseases, the main one being rabies, but it's actually less than 0.01% of bats that carry rabies, and then they all pass away within the first 48 hours of getting it. So a lot of people that do get rabies from bats is usually because they see a bat on the ground and they're trying to help it, and they use their bare hands to try and move it or get it somewhere, and then it turns around and bites them because it is infected. But it's really not a big percentage of bats that actually carry it.
We also get the one that's, how is the blood not rushing to their head? I get that probably more than any other question. It's basically the same way the blood doesn't rush to our feet, like pool in our feet. They have special valves in their circulatory system that kind of keep it moving.
Bats' feet have locking tendons in their toes, so they don't have to think about hanging on. Their relaxed position is actually holding on. So when they want to move around, they have to think to open their feet. Whenever it has pressure on it, those just lock in, and they can sleep, they can groom, they don't have to think about when they're holding on, they just stay hanging. Their thumbs are just like our thumbs. Their wings are made up of the same anatomy as our hands. So all of those bones are elongated and make up that wing. So the skin stretches between basically their second finger and their fifth finger, and then they have their thumb that they can use to walk around, grab the ceiling, grab toys, bring toys up to their mouth. They can lift quite a bit of weight. They are able to lift a good percentage of their body weight up, which is really cool to see. And obviously the moms and pups, that mom is having to fly around with a baby on her. So she's pretty strong. They're really strong for their size.
We want people, whenever they come out to Lubee, to not only enjoy the bats, which we know they're going to have a blast whenever they're with them, but to really feel immersed in nature and wildlife whenever they come out here.
Obviously, the bats are definitely a priority for us, but making sure that the area around us is also being enriched with native plants and having so many birds around and keeping those pollinators happy and having bugs around for the bats. We have thousands of wild bats that live on property, so not only are we having the ones that are within Lubee's collection, we're also having all of those ones that are natural and wild to the area around us.
On grounds, it's been a pretty good revitalization over the past 5 years of getting a lot of buildings refurbished, turning some old buildings like the one I'm currently in into education centers. But one of the other things that we really focused on was trying to bring in more wildlife. And one of the primary areas we've been focusing on are pollinator gardens with mostly Florida native or Florida friendly plants. And the increase that we've seen in butterflies, moths, bees, hummingbirds in the past few years has been amazing. All around wildlife that we're seeing, I like to hear it whenever our guests come out here and they ask, what is this plant and where did you get this? And I see there's bees all over this. I think it's important, whether it's at Lubee or any kind of zoological or conservation facility, is to be able to give back to wildlife as well, especially pollinators. We always hear about bee populations collapsing. How can we help the pollinators? And really, bees, birds, and bats are bioindicators of a healthy environment. And people ask us a lot, well, how can they help bats? And one of the first things is just find out about the species that you live around.
Getting the word out about them really helps them. So people putting up bat houses in their yard and giving these guys a safe habitat to kind of reside in also kind of takes away from the fact that they're going into people's houses and stuff or living in attics and people are trying to get rid of them. Whereas if you put up a bat house in your house, you can just have a coexisting kind of life with them where they're going to eat all the bugs for you and they're going to do a lot of really good stuff.
Putting up a bat house, which is one of the best things that people can do. And there are a lot of different factors that play into putting up a bat house, what's going to work and what's not. But here in the state of Florida, we always tell folks that if you can put up a bat house on a standalone pole, about 12 feet in the air minimum, face it southeast, stain it a brown color. We've had a lot of good luck with bat houses, and we always encourage people that to, again, learn about bats that are in their area, but to put up a bat house as well, and even put together a pollinating garden.
The biggest thing you can do is you can subscribe to our TikToks. We have all that kind of stuff. You can watch our TikTok lives. Sharing our content, we have a lot of different social media platforms, and sharing that can not only help people kind of know that we're here, but also maybe for them to be able to come out and do a tour or do one of our events that we have to be able to support us that way. But yeah, even following us. We have a lot of followers on like TikTok and Instagram, and while we do post a lot of fun stuff, a lot of it is super educational as well. And even just sharing that stuff can help someone else be like, oh, cool, bats. Like, maybe we should help bats.
We had a TikTok video come out, and I think it's TikTok's 21st or 22nd most watched video. It's like 380 million views. I don't know, like maybe 300,000 or 400,000 comments. But what I took out of that TikTok video and what I put into the report were the comments that used to say, I used to hate bats. I found them gross until I saw this video or until I saw your page or I saw your social media accounts. And I think that more than anything else that we do is the best thing that our organization can do to help bat conservation and education in general. But if people can change their minds just at looking at an 8-second video of a bat yawning and stretching his wings and making these squeak sounds, then I'd say that we've done our job to change some minds when it comes to how people perceive bats. We are very excited to be celebrating our 20th annual Florida Bat Festival this Saturday, October 26th. And last year we had 5,000 people. Our first year, I think we had 60. So it's definitely evolved over the years. And what people can expect whenever they come out here is just to have a really good time. But we also are going to have about 120 vendors out here as well. So we have a large beer garden. It's all local craft beer. We had about 10 to 15 food trucks last year. We had 2 bands for live music. And then we have a whole bunch of vendors, just everything from crafts, games, activities, artwork that people can check out whenever they're here. So it's going to be Saturday, October 26th from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock. People get to see one of the world's largest collections of bats, the world's largest species of bat, and have fun with their friends and their families, whether it's at the beer garden, food trucks, over 100 other vendors, or the bounce garden, the bounce houses that we have for the children as well.